Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Home is Where the Dark Is. Thanks for tuning in, as always. I appreciate the views, I appreciate the likes, I appreciate the subscribes, appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. I hope you had a great 2024 and, accomplished all your goals. Had a fantastic holiday, had a fantastic New Year. And yeah, so basically on New Year's Eve, I do this tradition. Been doing it for about 8 years now, where I like to go into the studio and just have a session on drum tracking, vocal tracking, whatever. Just if it's for a client's project, I try to get that in. If it's this year was for New Year's Eve last year was for my personal project, some of my personal music. So we got to go in there, and my buddy Jordan, he tracked drums for 9 songs for this soundtrack / orchestral album that I'm putting out this month. So he tracked drums for 9 songs on that, and had a friend of mine, HIWTDI, come in and do a vocal session. And she did vocals on 2 tracks for me for 2 of the songs on the record. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that up and hopefully have that out by the end of the month for you guys. And I'm been chipping away on those songs all last year in my free time when I'm not working with artists. So I finally was able to wrap that up, and it's gonna be 12 tracks of it's kind of strange. It's like a lot of it is kind of dreamy, soundtracky, and there's some that's pure orchestral. There's some that's like hard-hitting industrial. It's like a nice blend of soundscapey, weird, just different music, and it's still really dark, and a lot of it's really heavy, and some of it's extremely emotional. So I think you'll dig it. So yeah, I wanted to start the year off by talking about more things in my past relationship-wise, because as you all know, our intimate partner relationships, our marriages, they all play an extremely heavy hand in our lives as our career, our life goals, our career path. It's extremely important to have that support from your spouse. And as all of you know, it can be extremely difficult to navigate these waters of, especially in the modern world, in the world of modern dating and modern relationships. It's extremely difficult. So I wanted to kind of dig into my past, and hopefully, you can learn from some of my past mistakes. Just want to do whatever I can to help you, because I'm actually really, really passionate about learning and talking about these things. There's a lot of other channels that get into this stuff really deeply, but I'm trying to come at it from a different perspective, like from the perspective of someone in the music industry, someone in the entertainment industry, because there are different aspects and different things that we struggle with, or different challenges we have compared to, people that have, more normal jobs and more of a stable 9-to-5 kind of career. But anyway, I wanted to get into some stuff and hopefully help any younger men getting into relationships, or just men in general who may be struggling and just, beating their head against the wall in their relationship or marriage. So yeah, the past 20 years, I've really struggled, probably a little over 20 years now, but I've really struggled in relationships. Some of them have been great, but most of them have not been great. And I take full accountability for that. And I think it's really important that as human beings, as individuals, we have to take accountability for everything in our lives. And I know it's hard to stomach that for some of you, but we choose the people we bring into our life, and it's our responsibility to maintain that and to navigate that the best way we can. And so I've found that as I've gotten to learn more about myself, I really enjoy having a partner. I really enjoy being in a relationship. I really enjoy monogamy, to be honest. And I know that might sound odd to you, or to men, but like in my early 20s, maybe through most of my 20s, like in between my serious relationships, I had, flings here and there and hooking up and whatever, but it's fun when you're young. But I think as you get older and with age, you realize it's absolutely, it can be absolutely toxic and draining and not really worth it's not worth the squeeze. Okay. So I would consider myself a serial monogamist. I love having my person and giving my full energy, attention, and loyalty and commitment to them. There have been relationships I've been in where it hasn't gone that way, but for reasons, there's been certain toxic relationships I've been in where, at the fault of my own, that some of these women have drove me to my absolute breaking point. And, it's my fault because I ignored red flags and I didn't get out when I should have gotten out. And that's the thing. I think a lot of men, especially when you're younger, we decide we choose our relationships without doing a lot of research, without really vetting, without really taking the time to get to know these women. And I'm speaking in generalities here. I'm not talking about all women, okay? But because I know there are amazing women out there, and I've dated some of them. I've known a lot of them, and I know people that have absolutely lovely, beautiful, sweet, and truly great women exist, okay? They're unicorns, but they exist. So when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm not talking about all women, okay? And, if you're the exception, great. But I've found that most men, we get into relationships, it's basically like whoever gives us attention and is attractive to us, we kind of just go with it and hope for the best. And that's a huge mistake. And everyone does it, okay? Everyone's done it, especially when you're young. And what I've learned as I've gotten older is every single relationship I've been in has failed because of me, because it's been my fault. I chose these people and I chose to ignore red flags. I chose to not put in the work from the beginning, okay? And I've talked about this in other videos, but I've also, I had an alcohol issue. I had an alcohol abuse problem all throughout my 20s and halfway into my 30s. So I decided to get sober when I was 35. So I'll be 4 years sober next year or this year in a few months. So that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And honestly, I would say if you are struggling with any kind of substance abuse, especially alcohol and drugs, you really have to straighten that out first before you can expect any kind of success in a relationship or marriage or just any kind of deep, true, compassionate relationship. You have to straighten all that shit out first, because if you don't, they're all going to fail, okay? And it's on you to decide to take that step and to get the help you need, okay? Anyway, it's completely up to us who we let into our life and who we decide to remove from our life. And we don't have to explain ourselves. If you don't want someone in your life, it's completely your call. You don't have to explain anything. If you see red flags, if you notice things that are not okay for you, you have every right to decide to exit the relationship. And I recommend that you do, because at some point it will come back to bite you in the ass. At some point, you're going to suffer greatly for it. You cannot ignore red flags. And I know when we're younger, it's harder to point out these red flags, but as you get experience in relationships and as you grow as a person, you will see and you will start to define what are deal breakers for you, what your boundaries are, and you will be able to catch them very early, and you'll be able to make a decision. Unfortunately, I ignored all of that in my 20s and in my early 30s. So it's important to take the time to really get to know someone. It's important to really make sure you're ready. And, modern society decides, or modern society makes us feel like, or paints this picture of what a person should do in their life to be considered normal, sane, successful, etc. Modern society makes us feel like if we're not married by a certain age, if we don't have kids, if we don't have a house, if we don't have all these things, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong with us, that we're broken, that we're not good enough. And it's not true. It's absolutely not true. If you want to be single your entire life, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to be married your entire life, and if you only want to have one relationship and you want to have that white picket fence life, then that's completely fine too. We just have to own it, and we have to take accountability, and we have to accept the outcome of these decisions. Don't feel pressure by society, by family, by anything to rush into a situation that you don't want to be in, because it's all bullshit. The only thing that matters is what you want, your happiness, okay? Because we only got one shot here. If you want to be an actor and do that and be single, great. If you want to be a musician and do that and be single, great. If you want to do all these things and be in a relationship, great. Just get ready for a wild ride. I want to go back to one of my past relationships and give you an example of what not to do. Okay. So I met this beautiful woman, this beautiful foreign woman. She was born overseas. She was in Los Angeles. I met her at a show. One of my clients was playing, and we got exchanged information. I wasn't like crazy excited about it, but I was like, okay, we'll see if this goes anywhere. And we end up going on some dates, and then she told me she's basically trying to get her work visa, so she can stay in America and try to get a job. And she's like, yeah, but I have to go back. I have to fly back and go back home for a bit. So I figured, yeah, she's probably not even coming back. So this isn't going anywhere. But a month or so later, she tells me, I'm actually coming back. I'm like, okay. So then we hang out some more, date some more, and then she eventually gets a place. Her visa stuff works out. She gets a place. And she's like, yeah, she's like, why don't you just live with me? It was way too fucking soon. Way too fucking soon. Stupid. But in the beginning, everything seemed fine. And we were getting along. And yeah, we were having great sex. There was a great chemistry, going out, doing stuff. And this is when I was still drinking. So yeah, we were, going out to, the normal stuff that everyone does, going out to bars, going to get dinner, going to shows, whatever, events. And we traveled around a bit here and there. But in the first few months, 6 months, it was great. And then slowly, the red flags start popping up. And they were there from the very beginning. I just chose to ignore them, because what happens is, like, we get in, you get into that honeymoon phase, or that phase where everything is there's so much stimulation and you're so excited and it feels amazing. And it's that love trap. Okay. That's what it is. It's for sure the love trap. So you're kind of blinded. You're blindsided. You can't see clearly what's really happening because you're in this love haze. Okay. So anyway, there's all these red flags start popping up. Her behavior just starts changing, and she's really, really becoming nasty. And I remember one day, like, she got so pissed off at me because, like, people from my past or friends I have would be texting me, like different women in my life, different friends, people that I was completely loyal to her. Okay. But she would be so upset if I would just simply get a text message from another woman that I was not flirting with, was not hanging out with at all, but she would lose her shit every time and just become completely irrational and accuse me of cheating and blah, blah, blah. And I remember one day, she looked at me dead in the eye and she said, "If you ever cheat on me, I will fucking kill you." And she was serious. And I don't know if you've ever had experience with certain people like this, but I've learned that, there's so many signs and cues in body language. And one of the things I noticed about this woman looking back, that she did this so much, is like when she would talk to me, when she was upset or she was like in one of her, bitch modes or her like freak out modes, she would get really still and silent and speak to me like in a very calm way, but she would stare right through me, and her blinking went down to zero. She would just stare at me. And when she said this, she said, she looked at me and dead in the eye and she said, "If you ever cheat on me, I will fucking kill you." And in the moment, I was kind of terrified, but at the same time, what's another fucked up part of me is like, because I've been with crazy women before. And one of the great things about crazy women, as most of you men with experience will know, is that, the crazy ones are freaking phenomenal in bed. Okay? It's just the truth. But when she looked at me and said that to me, I was simultaneously terrified and fucking exhilarated because I was like, clearly this is terrible. This is toxic. I need to get the fuck out of here. But like an idiot, I decided, well, we're probably going to have some great sex in a few minutes. So we ended up doing just that. And I stayed way too long in that relationship, and it ended up absolutely destroying me. And there was so much emotional and psychological torture from this woman. And women can really they're master manipulators. I can't tell you how many times when I've called out bad behavior to a woman and I brought it up and I said, "Look, what you're doing right now is not okay." And they take that and they flip it around and they say, "I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're just controlling. I think you're just insecure. I think you're just this, and that." And they take absolute zero accountability for bad behavior. And then they will say, "I don't like how you just made me feel by saying that. You made me feel terrible." And they get all emotional, pissed off, sad, crying, whatever. And then they turn around on you. And then before you know it, you end up apologizing for their bad behavior. It's completely fucked. But I know most of you men have been there. You've fallen for it. And it's absolutely insane. But it happens all the time. And that's not the first time it's happened to me. So anyway, this relationship really, it ended. I ended up leaving her because it was so exhausting and so toxic. And I was like, this is just terrible. So in this relationship, I ended up leaving. And there have been others where the woman has left me. I've had 2 relationships where the woman has left me. And most of the other ones I've left. Although I would say most of the relationships I've been in were never going to work. There have been a few where I think it was just bad timing, and most of it was my fault because I hadn't gotten sober yet and I was being an idiot. So I take full accountability for that. I think there are some relationships I've been in that could have worked if it was maybe 5 or 10 years in the future. So I do have experience with amazing women, but I have mostly experience with absolute train wreck batshit people. And it's just the truth. So I'm basically wanted to, the message I'm trying to get across here is that really take the time to get to know somebody, for men and women, but I'm speaking for men here because I know how easy it is to fall for that love trap, and they put on their best face in the beginning, and then before you know it, there's all these red flags and you're doing everything wrong. And there's all these qualifications and there's all these things that you need to be doing that change randomly, that change at a day-to-day, weekly, monthly occurrence. There's like, all of a sudden there's all these other things that you should be doing, or there's all these other things you're doing wrong, and blah, 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 blah. And it never ends. And you can never make these women happy. So it doesn't matter what you do. Even if you do everything she says every day, when these things change, there will always be something else. Okay. So really take the time to get to know someone. Don't rush into anything, because this decision is the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. And if you don't do the work on yourself and you don't take the time to really get to know someone, it can potentially destroy you. It will destroy you. And in America, the way the legal system is absolutely detrimental and destructive for men. Looking back, I think deep down, this is why I never chose to propose or get married, because I knew, like, this is a losing game for men. The probability of your marriage surviving is not great. It's over 50%. Most marriages end in divorce. Okay. And what can happen, I've heard horror stories about this shit, where men work the whole life. They give everything to their partner, to their family. They build businesses. They make a lot of money. They give all of their time, energy, and finances to the woman. They take care of her. They show her love. They're loyal. They cater to her every need. Men are loyal, okay? Yeah, some men, I'm speaking generally here. Yes, there's some terrible people. There's some terrible men and women. But generally, men, if they love you and they know you're the one, they are loyal. And they'll do everything for you. They will die for you. There's been women I've been with that I would have died for. I would have jumped in front of a fucking train. I would have taken a bullet. I would have done anything for these girls. And they turn around and fucking, one day they say they love you and it's unconditional, and the next day you're a piece of shit. Okay? But men can be completely destroyed in divorce. And it's disgusting. And the destroying is done by the people that say they love them. Unconditional love, and it's not true. If you do have a marriage or you're in a relationship, with a unicorn, with a truly good woman that loves you for you, and that doesn't need you to validate her, doesn't need you to be the source of her happiness and provide everything for her and blah, 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 blah. And then that's great. I mean, I know there are, my parents have been married for many, many, many years, and it's very inspiring. And I know other families and other couples they've been married for 30, 40, 50 years, and it's possible, but it's just, what I'm saying is it's rare. So you need to be very, 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 very careful in your relationships. So I guess my main takeaway for this is make sure, please, for the love of fucking God, please make sure you know who this person is. Make sure you take the time. Don't rush into anything. And, take care of yourself. A relationship won't make you happy. Only you can make you happy. That's a very hard lesson I've had to learn, is that happiness comes from within, not your partner. Your partner doesn't make you whole. All these outside things do not make you whole, okay? It comes from within. So love yourself, do what makes you happy, and that's it. You don't need anyone else. You really don't. Would it be lovely to have a life partner? Absolutely. Do most people want that? I think so. I do. But it has to be right. And if you ignore doing the hard work up front, at some point you will suffer. At some point it will destroy you. So really take the time to, evaluate this. If you're unhappy in your relationship, in your marriage, you can make the change. I know it sounds scary. It's scary to give up now, or to make a change now, because you're comfortable, right? You don't want to disrupt your life. But I guarantee you it's going to be so much harder later down the road when it inevitably goes south. So take care of yourself, love yourself, and happiness comes from within. Make some great music, make some great art, and enjoy yourself in 2025. Thank you for listening.